Texas is changing its strict voter ID rules in advance of the November election. The state agreed to relax its requirements after a federal appeals court ruled the ID restrictions violate the Voting Rights Act. Now, this comes as other states with similar restrictions are being challenged. Fox 4's Deanna Zoga with more on what this means for the election and for voters. Deanna.
Clarice, the agreement filed with a federal judge today would allow voters in Texas who are registered but do not have a photo ID to cast a regular ballot in the November general election. If they do not have a photo ID, they will be allowed to show utility bills or some other form of documentation, government documentation, even paycheck stubs to show who they are. All they have to do is be registered and also sign an affidavit saying that they could not get a photo ID and that they are who they say they are. Come November, registered voters in Texas won't necessarily have to show a photo ID to cast their ballot.
We want to make sure that everyone that wants to vote, regardless of if they may have an ID that is a few days expired, regardless of if their main source of form of ID is a college ID, we want people to be able to vote in this upcoming election. We don't want people to regret missing out on this election.
Congressman Mark Vesey is one of the plaintiffs in the primary lawsuit challenging Texas's voter ID law in federal court, alleging it unfairly targets minority and poor voters. Last month, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled the law violated the Voting Rights Act, which led to an agreement today between the state, the federal government, and plaintiffs to roll back some of the restrictions temporarily for the general election.
For right now, that's going to be the law of the land for this upcoming election. And I hope that the Republicans will realize that they went too far, that this is an embarrassment.
But Republicans who support the voter ID law in Texas insist it was a common sense measure passed by the legislature in 2011 to guard against voter fraud.
I think the intent in maintaining integrity and honesty in the electoral process and really trying to bring people's confidence back that when they vote, it does make a difference.
State Senator Kelly Hancock says he expects the Texas Attorney General's office will appeal the ruling. In a statement today, Ken Paxton's director of communications said the case is not over and the state is considering an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. But for November, the state will be required to lay out plans to let voters in Texas know the rules have changed.
We shouldn't be talking about having the most stringent bill and be proud of that. We should be talking about having the most open bill, the bill that invites everyone to exercise their suffrage. And
the agreement filed in court still does need the signature of a federal judge. As it stands right now, it also requires the state to spend $2.5 million in voter outreach to let voters know they don't necessarily have to have a photo ID to vote this November. The state has to submit a plan on how it will do that, how it will spend that $2.5 million by August 15th. Clarice, back to you.
So, Deanna, $2.5 million, any idea how that is going to be spent?
You know, it's not clear yet, and that may end up in the plan if it is submitted to the court by August 15th, but it may also end up being a bit of a point of contention. Democratic Congressman Vesey said he's concerned that's not enough money to really get the word out to voters who would be impacted by this, while Republican State Senator Hancock wants to see how the funds will be split, what counties will get that extra voter outreach. Back to you.
Deanna Zoga live tonight. Thanks.